Thank you. I've got to tell you, I'm overwhelmed by this audience. I'm hopeful. So I really want to say thank you for asking me to be here. I'm very humbled. I'm sitting here going, what could I possibly say? And so all I'm going to say is the truth. And it's real simple. I grew up in Peoria, Illinois. And if you get to know me, Peoria, Illinois is right in the middle of Chicago and St. Louis. And there's a bunch of cornfields. It's a world corporate headquarters of Caterpillar Tractor. And that's about it. I was very fortunate that I grew up in a very loving family. My mom loved my dad loved my mom. There was no alcoholism, no porn, no nothing. Everybody loved each other. Never watched TV, played outside. We're supposed to come home when the lights went on, the street lights. It was a very simple life. And I thought everyone lived that way. We always went to church. I would be lying to you if I told you we said a rosary every night. We all came and gathered around my mom's feet. No, we didn't do that. We fought like everyone else. I'm one of 5 children. I'm the youngest. The best looking and the smartest too. And the most humble. So I'm glad to say that we are all still very, very close. And I'm in constant contact with my family. So I thought this was normal. I really thought it was normal. And then I went to college. Like, oh, so your mom has been divorced 4 times and she lives with her boyfriend. Well, that's different. Okay. So anyway, I branched out into college life and I saw there was a whole nother world out there. And the more I realized it was different, the more I realized I was going to cling to what I had at home. I'm very blessed. Very, very, very blessed. My mom just left yesterday. She was here for a month visiting. My dad passed away last spring, which was really hard, but we all have great faith and no regrets and realize that he's where he needs to be and where he wants to be, and he would never want to come back. So I lived in a family where service was what it was all about. My dad, for 40 years, volunteered as a maintenance man at our church. We had a 125-year-old church, we had a convent, we had a rectory, and we had a school. And my dad volunteered to do all the maintenance for 40 years. So I just grew up knowing that, to serve. That's just what we do. We always had priests. We were so blessed to always have priests around our table. My dad and mom loved priests. And so we always had a priest coming over for dinner, or, it was just commonplace. And that added a whole new dimension to my faith. So that's a little bit about my background. I wasn't the smartest in my class. I don't have all those accolades. I just came from a really good home, and I was very blessed. And I will tell you, I learned a work ethic. So that's a little bit about me. That's kind of boring and beyond that. But I want to tell you a little bit about my work life. And my husband and I started off with Procter & Gamble. I never, ever thought I was going to be a career woman. First I wanted to be Dorothy Hamill. I wanted to be an ice skater. That didn't work out. I can't even ice skate. I don't know where that came from. But when you're 7, you can do whatever you want, right? Then I wanted to be a mom. I was like, my mom's a great mom. I want to be a mom. You get to eat cookie dough whenever you want. Nobody tells you you can't. Raw pasta, you can do that. You can stay up late, have ice cream when no one's looking, right? So I wanted to be a mom. I never had any intention of becoming a professional woman. Never. My dad always said to me, you can be whatever you want. You can be an astronaut, you can be, not a priest, but you can be everything else, right? And I was good with that. So I just had all the confidence in the world that whatever I'm supposed to do, I'm just supposed to go do, just work really hard and do what you're supposed to do, right? Real simple. So I went off to college. Did all the college stuff. After 9 weeks, learned that wasn't a good idea and decided to get back at it. And, made all the stupid mistakes you make, drank too much, not too much Alamo beer, which, by the way, Toolbox Studio, which is my new company, did all the branding for that and all the labeling for it. So, but I went off to college and I started learning that there was this whole other world out here, okay? Once again, I never, ever wanted to be a professional woman. I'm like, why would I want to do that? That's crazy. So anyway, I got hired by Procter & Gamble, which was sheer luck. or a blessing. I had no idea. I mean, I was so lucky to get that job. And when I got there, I realized after being there, I'm like, you know, this was really a good gig. A lot of people wanted this job. And so I went from Peoria, Illinois to Kansas City to Texas, which, by the way, I told God, and on my resume, I said I would never live in Texas. Just to let you know, you can say whatever you want, but God's going to put you where he wants you to put you, right? So I moved to Texas, met my husband, and I will be buried under some big pile of rocks someday because I'll never leave Texas. I've been here 24 years, and I'm getting used to it. But I'll tell you, my husband's 14 years older than I am. He was married before I had a brief marriage. We both went through the annulment process. He did not need that, but our marriage was blessed in the Catholic Church, praise God, on February 25th, 1994. So when I started becoming this career woman, which I really never wanted to be, it had this momentum. And it was great. You did well, people accolades, and all what I was doing was what I was taught to do as a kid. Work hard, be honest, be yourself. And if there's any practical things I can tell you is don't be ashamed of who you are. Don't be ashamed of the ashes on your forehead. Don't be ashamed of blessing yourself at the corporate meeting. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm going to say a prayer. If you'd like to join me, I'm going to say a prayer before lunch. Don't be afraid. And I've got to tell you, there's freedom in that. There's absolute freedom. I never have to worry about, did I tell her that? Was that a lie? Never. I'm just who I am. And there's freedom in that. And guess what? People will like who you are because God created you that way. And so one of the things I would tell you is that what's been great about owning my own business is that my husband and I can be ourselves. If you walk into Smith Print or Toolbox Studios, there is no doubt you have walked into a Catholic organization. We have Father Banks. I don't know if you've ever met Father Charlie Banks. He's a wonderful priest. Every time when we started Smith Print, every time we bought $1 million press, he came in and he blessed it. And we would have all our employees, Catholic or not, I don't care what you were, like, just sit there. You're on the time clock. If you don't want to pray, that's fine. Well, we're praying. And so we just lived out our faith with no excuses. No excuses. If I'm supposed to tolerate your lack of faith, then you need to tolerate my faith. And that is critical. And if you guys know Father Jan from St. Anthony Mary Claret, do you know him? Is he awesome? He's amazing. If you ever get an opportunity and can get through the Polish accent, the man is brilliant. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And he will tell you that to just be yourself. He said to me one time in the confession, I'll be honest, he said, Cease, we're called to love people. We're called to bring people to Christ with love. What was the other? He said, kindness and generosity. Don't beat them over the head with the Bible, is what he said to me. I'm like, okay. So all we have to do is live out our faith. It's very simple. Now, it's easy for me to say because I own the place. And so, if I tell you you're going to sit there and watch Father Banks sprinkle holy water all over our machine, then, you're going to have to do it, right? But the reality is we've had clients that have come in and asked us to do things that we knew were not right. I'll give you a couple examples. We had a gentleman come in, he had a book. He wanted us to publish it. Had a $10,000 check, gave it to my husband. My husband kind of looked through it, and it was what he called soft porn. There's no such thing as soft porn. Porn is porn. It's kind of like, well, no, I won't use that analogy. But my husband said, you know what, we can't do this. And he said, I'm ready to pay up front. And my husband, we don't believe in this. That was really hard to do when you're trying to make a $60,000 payroll every month, to pass up that kind of money. But we stuck to our values. And God has always paid us back. Always. And I'm not saying just financial. It's either through being able to sleep at night or having a healthy child or being able to have time to relax. But he has always paid us back. And I have to tell you, Even from a financial perspective, he blesses us. There was another time a gentleman, and this guy was kind of like, you're nuts. You know, he kind of walked out and thought we were idiots. I was, okay, whatever. There was another time a gentleman called me, and he wanted me to create a marketing piece. He had a practice for in vitro fertilization. And if you don't know anything else about me, I'm a huge pro-lifer. And once I found out what he wanted us to do, I just very respectfully said, you know, sir, I hope I don't offend you. However, I don't believe in this. I believe this is an immoral act. I can't work with you. And you know what he said to me? He said, I respect your convictions. I really do. Sorry, we can't do business. So I guess, you know, one of the things I'm supposed to talk about, one of my notes here says practical tips on how to live your faith at work. Just be yourself. Don't be scared, be bold. And I would say even as young professionals, I know you have bosses and you've got the corporate policy, you got to be tolerant of everybody and all of that. Well, guess what? Be bold and have them be tolerant of you. Father, like I was saying, Father Clack said, why is, you know, there's no such, the definition of tolerance is really doesn't exist, because if you're tolerant, that means that someone else isn't tolerant of you. I mean, there's just, when you think about it, if I have to be tolerant of you, that means you're not being tolerant of me. So I want you to really think about that. It's a hard concept, but it can't exist. Because the sheer fact of having to be tolerant means that someone's not respecting your values, right? Yeah. So think about that. So it's very easy as young people to get caught up in the corporate world. Very easy. No, you know, if you do that, you might not get a raise, you might not get, you know, you might get passed, they might think you're judgmental. Be careful how you package it, you know. We don't need to beat them over the head with a Bible, right? We can just live it, walk it. We don't have to say, you know, no, I think what you did is, you know, no, you're going to go to hell for that. No, we don't need to say that because we don't know. We can't make judgments like that. But just live out your faith. Be true to who you are, and you'll find freedom in that. And you know what? In the end, people will respect you. They will. Because if there's anything lacking in this world is conviction. Right? Oh, it's okay, you know, it's all right. For you, that's relativism, right? We're all familiar with it. If that's okay for you, but, you know, I don't necessarily agree with it, but who am I to say that you're not supposed to kill your baby? You know, I mean, no. We got to have things, it's okay to have things we believe in. It's how, as Catholics and Christians, we package it. If we come off judgmental, do you think you're going to bring people to Christ? Look at Pope Francis. I mean, the poor man has been misrepresented so much in the media where, you know, everything's okay. He doesn't, you know, he's going to throw out all the rules where, you know, everybody, you know. No. But it's how we package our faith, how we walk it every day. So if there's one thing, and I told Richard, keep me on time because I'm not supposed to go over time, right? Am I doing okay? Yes. Okay. What am I looking for? What am I looking for? I tell you what, I'm on many different boards. I'm on Assumption Seminary board. I'm on Paseo del Rio Association board, which is the Riverwalk, which is a fun board to be on. You get all different kinds of people on that board, but that's okay. The common theme in San Antonio is a lack of quality workforce. Do you know why? People aren't willing to work hard. Okay? When I look for someone to come work for me, it's not because I want them to be my slave, but as an owner, I will never ask somebody to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And I know many of you probably don't have bosses like that. But we're still called to work hard. Hard work is noble. You know, there's nothing wrong with working hard, and at the end of the day you can feel good that you earned your pay and all of that. It is hard to find people who will go the extra mile. And I would say, if I could link it to anything, I see that people who have a strong faith are willing to work hard. Okay? I think there's a connection there. So even though I can't say, you know, well, are you Catholic? Or, you It's obviously I am, right? I can't ask that. However, I can tell by how they're involved in the community, if they're involved in the community. You can tell a lot about people about just how they treat people. Are they on time? I mean, I know these are basics, but it's respectfulness to a human being, no matter where they come from, no matter if they've treated you like garbage, you're still respectful because they are a child of God. So when I look for someone, I want somebody who's willing to go the extra mile, because as an employer, I'm also willing to say, you need time off, your mom's sick? Sure, you need to take her to the doctor? Do whatever you need to do. You're a professional, get your job done, I don't care, right? So prove yourself that you'll get your job done. The other thing that I will tell you that I'm looking for, and I'm going to try to make the connection to the faith. Having the knowledge and applying it. I'll be very frank, I have a staff member, she's a beautiful young lady, I love her to death. I'll say, go research XYZ. She goes and she gives me a link to a website. That's not research. So taking the request and going one step further, right? Really applying your knowledge. Because if you can do that in the workforce, or in your faith, if you know that you're supposed to go to Mass every Sunday, and that you're supposed to go to confession, and that during Lent is a time of penance, and you apply it, you're probably going to do that in your own personal way of working as well. Okay? So apply your knowledge. Don't just, here, you asked for research, here's a link. That's not research. Take it one step further. Don't do the bare minimum. In our faith, we shouldn't do the bare minimum, right? Sometimes we do, I go to adoration on Saturday mornings, and sometimes I go there and I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to sleep while I'm here, but I'm here, right? I go at 6 a.m. every Saturday morning, and sometimes I'm just not there. And this is my prayer to God. Jesus, listen, I've had a heck of a week. I'm tired. You know my heart. You know I love you, and I'm here. Help me. It's the same thing. We have to apply ourselves, work hard, apply what we believe in to not only what's in the church. We don't do the bare minimum with our faith, do we? We shouldn't. I challenge you to go deeper with your faith. I'm trying to think, what's the average age in here? Like 25, 30s? No? Okay, who's okay, Richard, you're 12. I didn't say mentally, honey. I said age, okay? Get a good book and read. Listen, go to speakers. I mean, this is so awesome to see you here. It's incredibly hopeful. You're not alone. And there's people hungry for what you have. They'll say, there's something different about you. It's not the makeup, it's not the eyeshadow, it's not the lipstick, it's not the outfit. It's your faith. And let it reek out of you. Today I had an interesting opportunity. Have you guys heard about the assembly? That it's save the date, November 7th, big date. Archbishop Gustavo is having something called the assembly. And it's going to be an opportunity for us to come together as a community to learn how we go out and evangelize. And they've asked me to help them with branding. And so we went in and we talked, and I took my creative director, Stan. Now, Stan is a wonderful man. I love Stan. But he is a self-proclaimed, I'm not very spiritual. Okay. I haven't said, oh, what? You're crazy. The 20 crosses on my wall might have probably screamed that to him. And when he walked out of there, he said to me, I just feel more spiritual just being in that presence of those people. That's what we need to share with people. Not quoting the Bible unless it's necessary. Not beating them over the head. Oh, you didn't go to Mass, shame on you. You're going to spend the rest of your life in purgatory. Whatever. I mean, we do it by our actions and how we act and the joy that we have. So don't be frightened to do it. You are our hope. You are our hope that this carries on. I'm only 48, so I'm not that old. But I have a 19-year-old son. Just went away to college. Guess where he's at? Guess where he goes on Sunday? Guess what he does on Sunday? He does not go to church. And it's killing me because I homeschooled him for 7 years. We did all of our sacraments. We do all of it, right? So what do? Am I beating him up? No. Am I withholding funds? No. Am I treating him like trash? No. What am I doing? I'm praying. And so I told him, he's 19 and a half. And I said, he called me, said, hey, you want to go out for dinner? I said, I can't, I'm speaking, tonight. And he's like, oh, that's right. I said, you need to think about this group. These are young professionals. He's like, that's interesting. So you give a lot of us moms hope. I mean, we all went there, right? How many missed mastering college? Be honest. Okay, it's okay. You went to confession afterwards, right? So you're good. Okay. We all did it. Okay, God bless all of you that didn't. You're better than I. But you give hope. That's all right. Okay, class. But you give us hope. Be bold in your faith. And so I'm supposed to challenge you. This is my challenge. I would ask, how many more weeks of Lent do we have? 3, 4, 5? 5? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it depends. I'd like for you each to try, and maybe you're okay with this. So if you're okay with this, find something else. But in your workplace, wherever you are, take the opportunity to pray for lunch or to think of at 3 o'clock the Divine Mercy or something. I want you to be very overt about your faith. Not saying, hey, everybody come together, we're all going to say the Divine Mercy together, unless that works for you. But try to go to Mass. Do something where everybody else is going, not to show off, but to live your faith outwardly. Be bold. So, all right? So, wait a minute, let me make sure. Did I hit everything, Richard? Okay, so be bold. Think of something. As simple as praying with people. And even, when I bought, I'm in the process of purchasing Toolbox, and we have the spectrum from, I'm trying to think, am I the only Catholic in there? I think I'm the only Catholic out of 11 of us, and we have a whole spectrum of faith, right? And I don't care, we sat down, we're going to say our grace before, if I'm buying lunch, you're praying. So just be bold. So anyway, are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Do you find that it's easier to live out your faith now that you're a small business owner as opposed to when you were working with Procter & Gamble, sort of the corporate America environment?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said that it was harder now. It's just different. It was different. Now, where I work, I have people all around me. When I was with Procter & Gamble, sometimes I was out in the field, so I didn't have, unless I was at a meeting. And I'll be very frank with you, I was 24. It probably wasn't as important, unfortunately, as it is today. But I never hit it. So maybe it's more of an effect of my age and my journey, opposed to the position. So, yes.
I'm sure a lot of you are a very generous person, but do you ever feel like you're being taken advantage of, or how do you draw the line between giving back and making ends meet or taking care of yourself?
That's a really good question. The question was, do I ever feel like I'm being taken advantage of whenever I'm being asked for donations or when I give back? Yeah, sometimes I do. However, I really trust the Holy Spirit to give me that nudge. And I'll give you an example. There's this elderly lady that we're friends with. She's 86. She has no money. She has no family in town. And she's been very ill, and she needed, she has no money. And I walked into her house, and instantly I thought, I need to leave her $500. I'm like, $500? Are you crazy? I mean, it was right before Christmas. I'm like, oh, come How about 250? Let's do 250. Okay, maybe 100, very generous. And I make it a point to still give. So in those cases, it's a little easier because she's this cute little old woman. The other time, though, is ministries. I'll be very frank, and Richard's the worst one.
Which they support Catholic radio.
Yes, we do support Catholic radio. When it's frustrating, and I'm just really being blunt, when it's frustrating is when you give, and I've learned a lesson. Let me tell you the lesson I learned. I would just give and never let them know how much the value of what I gave them. So if we printed 10,000 brochures and it had a value of $2,000, I never told them, I just said no charge. Well, then they would come back and I would say, well, would you mind if we just charge you for the paper or something, but we'll still do the, well, last time it was this, and they start arguing with me. So I'm just like, I mean, you're arguing with me with my generosity. So what I've done, and this is, I'm being very truthful. What I have done is, in a very non-pompous way, I allow people to understand the generosity. Because originally I'm like, I'm not going to tell them how much it's worth, I'll just give it to you. But then people didn't really value it. It was almost a form of humility to be able to say, we're giving you this. And so it also gives them the opportunity to be grateful. But every time, my husband has learned this lesson. My husband was not as, right? I mean, he would tell you, if he's standing right here, he'd say, it's hard for me sometimes to give because I've got 29 employees. And sometimes it's hard to give, but God has blessed us in so many ways. So we just keep giving. We just keep giving. And sometimes we discern it's not the right time to give. I mean, we do. So if you guys all have ministries that you have, just be nice to me. We give where we can. We really give where we feel like we can make the most impact. So when Eric reached out to me, I'm like, who is this guy? Right? No. He came and I missed the first meeting. I felt so bad. He's like, we'll meet on this day, and I'm like, I just completely forgot about it. So then he came in the next time, and we had a good talk, and I was really impressed with what you guys were doing. And so I was like, however we can help, I'll help. And when I can't help anymore, I'll tell you I can't help anymore. Just respect that. And most people are very, very grateful. So, but sometimes it's kind of hard. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you so much for all your generosity that I mentioned, first of all.
Oh.
Thank you very much for that. Where do you find joy in your work, in living that out in your faith and in your ministry? Where do you find that with your faith?
That's a good question. I'm very blessed that I love my work. And I think the joy is that every day, so we have Smith Print, which is a commercial printing company, but then I started Red Door Solutions, which was a year and a half, a little small marketing company. And then I'm in the process of buying Toolbox Studios. And every day I meet different people. Every day I meet people with family-owned businesses, corporate. I mean, I've got a client that builds prison locks. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah. So I get to meet a wide variety of people. And the joy I find is that most people are just real people, all just trying to do their job. And so I find my joy in that connection. I also just absolutely love my staff. I have a wonderful group of people. But I also believe that you reap what you sow. And I feel like I'm a very generous employer. And I won't say necessarily monetarily, because sometimes when you're starting out a new company, you can't do it. But I have one of our employees, Shauna, her mom has been sick for 3 years. I mean, she's been taking care of her. And I would say in the last year, she has missed probably 30% work days to take care of her mother. And never once did I say, you need to take a leave of absence. And somehow our group, our team, always comes together and we get the job done. So the joy I have are in the people and hearing their stories. And just so many of them I think of as friends. And that's the joy, is that treating people like real people. No, Richard, I'm not talking to you. Yeah. Yes, you, little boy in the gray shirt.
Witnessing your faith, years of ours at the workplace, have there been any conversions, any real life changes, and things that you've seen in your employees' lives, maybe some come to the faith, or some listen to Catholic radio, or something like that?
I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I mean, we have, when you own a commercial printing company, and Daniel is one of my clients, you have people that just work really hard, very manual jobs, hard jobs. And I will tell you, and probably 97% of them are Catholic. They were baptized Catholic. They were, they all have the big Our Lady of Guadalupe, or they have something going on there. And I see their conversion from a standpoint of maybe, I don't ask them, did you go to mass or anything like that, but I see them in the way they talk and how they treat people, and that I can talk to them and how they treat people through God's eyes. And so, yeah, we've seen staff members who were contracepting that she came and she literally laid it on the table, just kind of like, hey, listen, I need tomorrow afternoon off because I need to go get my IUD removed. I'm like, I'm like, well, and so it gives you the opportunity. She had no idea. She had no idea what she was doing to her body or to the baby inside her. She had no clue, never been told. Once they tell it, they feel almost, they can't believe that they've been sold such a bill of lies. So they're so grateful for the truth. So, people are all on their journey. Have I gotten anybody to be baptized? I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember. So, but I hopefully brought them closer to understanding Jesus and loving Jesus. So, any other questions?
I got another question.
Yes.
So, and I have been at your office. I can attest it's very impressively Catholic.
We don't sprinkle holy water on you, but that's the next step.
So, and you shared some stories about how you were able to put, I guess, determine what kind of business you'd like to do based on your morals. Have you ever come across a situation where someone has declined business or stopped from giving you business because of your outward Catholicism?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we actually, and it's kind of one of those things where you're just like, oh, all right, if it, it's kind of like one of those things like, hey, if you can't accept me for who I am, then, we don't really want to be together anyway. So yeah, we actually have. I mean, it's very similar, having clients is very similar to dating or marriage or anything. You got to decide, do you want to work together? Do you want to talk? Do you want to communicate? And it's okay to say, I don't think this is going to work. Just, some people and how they treat their employees, or, that we say things, well, we don't do that here. Or a great example, now I got one. A great example is where they wanted me to cheat on their invoice for them. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. Sorry. And then they're just kind of like, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's going to the client, it's going to just put a little, no, we don't do that. So yeah, we have had opportunities, but never anybody that overtly said, because they don't come to our door. I mean, and I tell you what, that's one of the things that's great about being so Catholic, is that if they don't want to deal with you, they're not going to show up anyway. So that's why, I'm a firm believer in supporting other Christians and Catholics and all of that. Richard, I should probably give him a sales commission. But I'll pray for you instead. Isn't that good? He has been, I tell you what, I can't tell you how many times somebody has gone in to Dr. Richard, or he meets somebody and they say, hey, do you know? And he's like, you need to call Cece Smith with Smith Print, and boom, we got their business. So, I mean, it's happened over and over and over again. So we have to support each other. So.
How do you balance work life and motherhood? How has your faith helped you kind of find that balance?
Mm-hmm. Concealer.
And married life.
No. You know, I'm going to tell you, like I said, I never, ever, ever imagined being a business owner. I would never have told you that I would be in the middle of lawyers and CPAs trying to buy this other company. You know, that brings me to another part, so don't let me forget about dress. It's a hard balance. I will tell you, your generation's much better at it than we are because the guys are willing to step up. Right, guys? No, I mean, in all honesty, I am shocked. I'm like, what the heck happened? I married 20 years too early. And part of it's generational, right? It's amazing. Now, I married a man who's 14 years older than I am, so he's 62. So there's a big difference there, okay? But I see people working more together as a couple, sharing the responsibilities. It's tough. I will tell you the only reason I think it's worked for me, and something I didn't say is that I homeschooled for 6 years. I was with Procter & Gamble. I had 2 cute little boys. I wasn't able to have any more, and I said, well, God, if this is all you're going to have, I'm going to spend every minute I have with them. And my kids are like, please, no. We did that. That's actually how I met Julie, and Richard was through homeschooling. But then when I went back into work, it was definitely easier having my own business because I had that flexibility that if I wanted to go watch the play at 2:30, I could. But it's not like it makes it easier because it ends up somewhere else. I get up very early in the morning, 4 o'clock every morning, so I can have 1 hour by myself. It's my coffee with God time, is what I call it, because I live on caffeine and red wine. But I wake up every morning, and for the first 20 minutes, I'm just kind of like conscious, you know? And I have my cup of coffee, but then I start thinking through my day, and I start praying. Dear God, I have this and this, help me get this right, and make sure I'm here. And, you know. But it is a constant balance. And it's a lie to think you can do it all. Somebody gives, and it's usually you. Okay? I wish I could sugarcoat it, but I'm not going to. You really have to work hard at it. You either have to have a good relationship or a good understanding of your limitations and be okay with it. Don't let other people dictate to you that you didn't make dinner for your mother on Mother's Day, or don't let anybody else apply to you the value of making you a good person. I can't tell you how many times my kids have had grilled cheese sandwiches and chicken soup, but we were at least at the table together. It doesn't have to be a wonderful meal. My mom says it doesn't have to be a wonderful meal. It just needs to be nutritious, and sometimes it doesn't even need to be that. And I'm like, and so you have to allow yourself some leeway. You don't have to be perfect, which brings me to dress, and then I'll shut up, okay? I've got to tell you, I'm very impressed with the way you're dressed. Women, do not degrade yourself in not dressing appropriately for your job, your husband, your family, your church. It makes it harder for the rest of us, okay? And quite frankly, it makes it hard on those guys working, looking at things hanging out and all of that, okay? I'm just being blunt. I give this talk normally to high school, that advice to teenage girls. Obviously, you guys don't have that problem, but there is a modesty that should be at work. But there's also modesty at home and all of that. And men, you need to, look handsome like you guys all do tonight. Dress up, look your best. I just wanted to share that last little bit about from a professional standpoint. Really, you can't dress like you're going to the club or something like that. You really have to dress appropriately. And then I know that's kind of a given, but you'd be shocked at the people that come apply for jobs and what they're dressed in. You'd be shocked. So, anyway.